Great leaders don't guess, they grow.
That's why each week on Elite Leader Insights, we bring you a practical concept from Donald Kunkel's latest article.
It's about growing with intention and using your influence for impact, with proven tools and frameworks that work.
Let's get into this week's insight.
You know, it's funny. Some ideas are just ancient, aren't they? Like Heraclitus said, 2,500 years ago, change is the only constant. And yet, here we are. Organizations, even really smart ones, still get blindsided by it sometimes. We plan meticulously for competition, right? For crises, for growth.
Sure, all the external stuff.
Exactly. But then when it comes to these fundamental internal shifts, you know, a new process, maybe a big restructure, changing the culture, we tend to treat change like it's this one-off event.
Yeah, like a project with an end date.
Right. Instead of seeing it as a core capability, something you actually need to be good at all the time. It's this weird paradox, and it really trips up a lot of leaders.
It absolutely does. And, you know, what's really striking when you dig into Donald Kunkel's work, I mean, he spent nearly 3 decades leading massive changes, military restructuring, defense transformations, huge cultural overhauls.
Complex stuff.
Really complex. And his big observation, again and again, is this: change initiatives. They rarely fail because the strategy was bad. They fail because of influence, or rather a lack of it.
Okay, pause there. Influence, not strategy. That's a big shift in thinking for a lot of people.
It is. It's not the what you're doing, it's the how. How you're actually leading people through the disruption.
And that makes sense when you think about how differently change feels depending on where you sit, right? For leaders, it often feels, well, strategic, abstract maybe.
New org chart, new policy, new tech.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle to solve. But for the employees, the people on the ground actually living it, it's not abstract at all. It's deeply personal.
Oh, absolutely.
It's about like losing control, maybe their identity shifts, expectations change. It's emotional. It disrupts their day-to-day. Kunkel talks about walking teams through really tough transitions, reorganizations where people get moved around, even downsizing.
With hurtful changes.
Right. And he saw the breakdown wasn't usually in the plan itself. The plan might have been brilliant, strategically sound, but in navigating the human experience of it.
Exactly. Which brings us to, I think, the most powerful line from his work on this. Change is a human journey. And if you don't lead people through that journey, you'll never reach the destination.
Wow, that really lands. It's not just about directing traffic. It's about being the guide on a potentially difficult trip.
Precisely. You've got to walk alongside them, not just point the way from afar.
You know, it reminds me of that old saying, you can lead a horse to water.
But you can't make it drink.
Yep. Same idea.
Exactly. You can design the most amazing change strategy, but if you're not really factoring in how people are going to respond to it, how they internalize it, well, you're kind of building on sand, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's a perfect way to put it. Like launching a ship without checking the tides. And this is where Kunkel brings in a really foundational framework. Rogers' diffusion of innovation model. It's been around since 2003, but it's so relevant.
Okay, diffusion of innovation. What's the core idea there?
The core idea, and this is crucial, is that your team will never move through change at the same pace, ever.
Yeah, okay.
But what happens in most organizations, leaders kind of expect everyone to just get on board simultaneously, like flipping a switch for the whole team.
Yeah, uniform compliance, march together.
Right. And Rogers' model just blows that expectation out of the water. It shows why it's unrealistic and, frankly, why it sets leaders up for failure.
So how does it break down? What does Rogers say?
Well, the model identifies 5 predictable groups based on how quickly people adopt new ideas or changes. First, you've got the innovators, tiny group, maybe 2.5%. These are the folks energized by disruption. They jump right in.
I love the new shiny thing.
Totally. Then come the early adopters, about 13.5%. They're optimistic, usually pretty influential. These are key people. They can become your champions, help shape the new way of doing things. They see the potential early on.
Okay, so those are the front runners. What about the rest?
Then you hit the big middle chunks. First, the early majority. That's about 34%.
Yeah.
These folks are pragmatic. They need to see proof it works. They need clarity, reassurance. If they don't get it, they'll just stall, wait and see.
Makes sense. They want to know it's safe before jumping.
Exactly. And right behind them is the late majority, another 34%. These are your skeptics, more cautious. They often wait until pretty much everyone else has adopted it, until the benefits are super clear. If there's confusion or if things seem messy early on, this group checks out fast.
Okay, so that's the vast majority of people falling into those middle categories.
Right. And finally, you have the laggards. About 16%. These are the most resistant. They're really anchored in the old ways, the legacy norms. They like what's known and comfortable. And they'll often push back, sometimes quietly, sometimes not so quietly. It's not always about being difficult. It's just a strong preference for the status quo.
That framework, it immediately makes sense of why rolling out change is so complex. You're dealing with completely different mindsets simultaneously.
Precisely. And Kunkel shares this really vivid example. He talks about watching a massive reorganization and a large military command. It wasn't just moving boxes on an org chart. It was a huge human upheaval.
What happened?
Personnel got reallocated across different units. People ended up in new teams, new supervisors, totally different expectations, sometimes even new locations. Strategically. Yeah. Maybe it made sense on paper. Necessary even.
But the rollout.
That's where it fell apart. The leadership was laser focused on the structural stuff, the org charts, the workflows, the metrics,
The mechanics of it all.
Exactly. But they completely missed the psychological undercurrents. The rollout was too fast, too abrupt, no pacing. There was very little empathy. They weren't really acknowledging the stress or the personal challenges people faced.
And communicate.
One size fits all. Same message for everyone, whether you were an innovator eager to go or a laggard feeling totally lost. Big mistake.
So what was the result?
Predictable, really. Huge friction, widespread disengagement, and crucially, a lasting loss of trust that just hammered morale and productivity for years, long after the reorg was technically done.
Wow. That's powerful. It's so easy to get caught up in the plan, the document, the strategy,
Right.
and forget that adoption is ultimately behavioral. You can have the perfect plan, but if you don't understand how people will feel, how they'll react, how they'll act, it's likely going to struggle, isn't it?
It really is. People don't just execute change, they experience it.
Mm.
You have to lead the experience.
Okay, so that's the group dynamic, the different adoption speeds. But what about leading individuals through this? Because like you said, change is ultimately a personal journey for everyone.
That's the next critical layer, and it brings us to another key psychological model, the stages of change, developed by Prochaska and DiColente back in '83.
Stages of change, okay.
This model shows that even for one person, change isn't just an on-off switch. It's a progression. It's like this quiet, internal negotiation people go through. And understanding these stages, it's like having a map to someone's internal landscape during a transition.
So what are these internal stages? And more importantly, how do we as leaders focused on getting things done, how do we recognize them and work with them instead of just, pushing?
Great question. It starts with pre-contemplation. That's the there's no issue here stage.
Yeah.
The person doesn't see a problem or a need for change, even if it's obvious to others. They might be comfortable, maybe even in denial.
Okay, oblivious or resistant.
Sort of. Then comes contemplation. Here, there's a shift. They start thinking, maybe something needs to change. They're weighing pros and cons, considering it, but no commitment yet, just pondering.
I can already see where leaders mess this up. They probably ignore these first two stages completely.
Often, yes, they wait. After contemplation comes preparation. Now the person's moving from thinking to planning. Okay, I'm getting ready. They might be asking questions, doing research, mentally preparing, maybe taking tiny steps. This is a huge window for influence.
Before the big leap.
Exactly. And then comes the stage everyone focuses on, action. I'm doing it. They're actively implementing the change. Finally, there's maintenance. I'm staying with it. This is about making the change stick, reinforcing the new habits.
Okay, that common mistake really jumps out now. Leaders tend to show up only during action, right?
Dingo.
The decision's already made, the change is rolling out, maybe without any real preparation or input from the people who have to do it. So any attempt at influence then feels reactive, like you're chasing buy-in after the fact.
You're absolutely right. You're trying to build trust when the foundation should have already been laid. And this really underscores another powerful insight from Kunkel. Change is a trust test, and every leader is being graded in real time.
Oof. A trust test graded in real time. That's intense.
It is. It's a moment where people decide if they really trust you, not just the plan or the title. Leaders who get this engage way earlier, in those quieter stages, earning that trust, building commitment instead of just forcing compliance later.
So, speaking of trust, Kunkel's framework, the Foundations of Influence, identifies specific capabilities leaders need to bridge that gap during transitions, right? What are they?
Yes, he outlines 5 critical ones. First, and maybe the most obvious but also the most crucial, is trust itself. Without it, forget it. People just shut down, disengage, resist.
Foundation number 1. Got it.
Then, emotional intelligence, Kunkel puts it bluntly. You can't fix what you can't feel. You have to be tuned in to the emotions swirling around, the fear, the frustration, maybe even excitement in yourself and your team. Ignoring feelings is like ignoring warning lights on a dashboard.
Absolutely. What's next?
Communication. Sounds basic, I know. But it's not just about sending emails. It has to be clear, honest, and really importantly, repeatable. People need to hear the core message consistently, especially when things feel uncertain.
Okay. Clear, honest, repeatable. Makes sense.
Fourth is credibility. This isn't just about your job title. Do people actually believe in you? Do your actions line up with your words, especially when things get tough?
Yeah.
That's built over time through consistent, honest behavior.
Walk the talk.
You got it. And finally, adaptability. You have to model the flexibility you expect from others. If you're rigid, if you resist changing your own approach during the change, well, you can pretty much guarantee resistance from your team. You have to embody it. Wow. Trust, EI, communication, credibility, adaptability. It's clear that without these, you're not really leading through change, are you? People might endure it.
Or comply grudgingly.
Or maybe worse, they just quietly quit. They check out emotionally long before anything is officially done. This goes way beyond just strategy.
It's about fundamental human connection and leadership.
All right, let's make this real. Enough diagnosing. Kunkel provides concrete actions, right? 5 key things that leaders who actually thrive in change do differently. What are they?
Okay, action time. First one, map the people before you map the plan. Before you touch that org chart or process flow, figure out the human landscape. Who are your innovators, your potential champions? Who are the skeptics? Who needs extra support? Who might quietly resist? Know your audience. Influence starts with relationships, not rollouts.
Know the players before you design the game. I like that. What's number 2? Number 2 builds on that. Influence early, not just loudly. Don't parachute in when the change is already decided and you're in that action stage. Get involved way earlier, during contemplation, when people are just starting to sense something might need to shift.
How? Like, what does that look like?
Host discussions. Ask questions. Create space for concerns. Invite input. This is where you build alignment. Gather insights that might actually improve the plan and start forging that connection. If you wait until it's a done deal, you're always playing catch-up on trust.
Got it. Early and often. What's third?
Third, customize the conversation. We already talked about Rogers groups, right? Well, one-size-fits-all communication just doesn't work. It creates friction. You're innovators. They want freedom, the big picture. You're early and late majority. They need clarity, reassurance, practical steps, proof. You're laggards. They often need empathy first, space to voice concerns, maybe understanding for what they feel they're losing. Tailor it.
Right, different strokes for different folks. Makes sense.
Uh-huh.
What's number 4?
Number 4 is create micro wins. Big change can feel overwhelming, like this huge mountain to climb. The end goal seems miles away. Successful leaders break it down. They find ways to create visible, meaningful progress points along the way.
Like celebrating small successes.
Exactly. Celebrate the first team using the new software well. Publicly praise a department hitting a new target. Highlight someone embracing a new role. These aren't just fluffy morale boosters. Each win builds real momentum. And momentum builds buy-in, especially when things get tough. It proves it's possible.
Okay, micro wins build momentum. Love it. What's the last one?
The 5th action. Say the hard things out loud. This one's tough for some leaders. We want to be positive, right? But avoiding uncomfortable truths or pretending everything's easy is incredibly damaging during change.
Why is that?
Because discomfort is normal. It often means real change is happening. Kunkel stresses. Acknowledge the challenges. Validate the anxieties people feel. Normalize the messiness. Then lead through it with honesty. That initial awkward conversation is way better than letting unspoken fears fester into deep disengagement. Be straight with people.
Okay, address the discomfort head on. That takes courage.
It does. And Kunkel adds one more crucial point. Empower intent, not just execution.
Empower intent. What does that mean?
Think about David Marquet and the USS Santa Fe submarine. From his book, Turn the Ship Around. He flipped the script from traditional command and control. Instead of waiting for orders, he got his sailors to state their intent. Captain, I intend to submerge the ship.
So pushing responsibility down.
Exactly. It wasn't just telling them what to do. It was trusting them with the why and empowering them to figure out the how. They moved from just complying to being truly committed to the outcome.
And that applies to organizational change. How?
Kunkel argues it's the same principle. Change doesn't stick when people are just told what tasks to execute. It sticks when they understand the intent, when they feel trusted and empowered to act purposefully towards the goal. That's the difference between mere compliance and real lasting commitment. That's how strategy actually becomes sustainable behavior.
Compliance versus commitment. That really sums up the difference influence makes.
It truly does.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, it seems the core message here is that successful organizational change isn't just about a smart strategy on paper. It's fundamentally about leadership influence, understanding that change is a human journey, engaging early, showing empathy, communicating effectively and honestly, tailoring your approach, and constantly building that foundation of trust.
You've got it. It's about leading the people, not just managing the process.
Thank you for joining us this week for our latest Elite Leaders Insights.
If you like today's insights, consider your first step. Take the free TECCA Influence Assessment, get your report, and use it to guide your next conversation.
Until next week, remember,
Leadership is influence in action every day, in every relationship. Let's build it together.